Hey, all welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Squeaks.
It's me! I'll wake you
He was
guys up.
ready with the Luigi hat. I love it.
I'll wake you guys up. Now we're talking Switch too,
Uh,
so I thought I'd be prepared.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were making a political statement or something like that, and I was like, okay, let's get rid of the CEOs. I wasn't gonna make any comment about it, but I wasn't sure. And then we got Jonathan as well.
hey, y'all.
This is a great start to the day, guys. So. We're going to be kicking things off with a versus. It's something we tried in the past. We're going to try it again and sprinkle them in with the questions. So we're going to start this one off with Magneto versus Static Shock. Squeaks, I think you'd have a big opinion on this. Who do you think would win that fight?
So I think so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but then at one point in time that Magneto was able to take in electricity, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, through his magnetic field, yeah.
Right. So I feel like, I mean, your name is Static Shock. You're a shock. Okay. I could touch a little wire to my light bulb and oh my God, I'm surviving.
Oh,
okay.
Wow, that's
so you want to go, when you come back as static thunder or something, then they come talk to me, but you're a little shock. Okay. So Magneto wins this one easily for me. Okay.
So
Can't trip me anywhere. Use the environment. Easy.
I agree and disagree. I think Magneto wins, but I think it would be barely and not as much of a landslide. So Static Shock and Magneto can both manipulate the magnetic fields. Static Shock uses electricity to do it, but he can also straight up electrocute you. So if you're wearing anything metal or not really, he can direct the electricity and fry you. So they have similar powers, but Static has the upper hand in that aspect of it. The Magneto could just as easily take his hoverboard that he uses from underneath him and stuff. The benefit Magneto has is I think he is quite a bit more powerful in his abilities. So I think in the end, he would still be able to overpower Static Shock.
I would give this to Magneto only in the fact that I think that's because Magneto could use his abilities to manipulate physical objects outside of what both of them control. Like he could throw a meteorite if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But the fact that metal is so conductive with electricity and now you're wearing a helmet, bro. If he touches you with that electricity on your head, your brain's scrambled. He doesn't need to worry about reading your mind. He can just go right through you. So I think it is a very close fight. Surprisingly close, I think, for a lot of people. But Magneto, I think, does pull it off in the end. He's just too awesome. Although I don't play him very well in Rivals. I'm trying.
Didn't he get extra powerful at one point, which I don't see a lot of anyway, but couldn't he control the iron in somebody's blood?
Oh,
I've seen him do that. Yeah, I've seen him pop people. Boom.
So there you go. Fucking, what do you call it? The boys, That's popping.
yeah, that's right. Oh man. So yeah, that's a good one though. All right. For this episode, guys, we're going to be talking about the Switch 2 reveal, a new Daredevil trailer, some of the TikTok ban, and a few other things. We also have a review for Skeleton Crew and Marvel Rivals Season 1. Before we get started, we're going to be revamping our YouTube a little bit in light of the TikTok ban. Slowly doing it, and we're going to be that's going to be the focus of our video content. As part of that, we're going to be releasing less long form videos per week, just so that you're not overwhelmed if you subscribe to us, because I know that can be overwhelming. I follow a lot of people. I'm like, okay, dude, calm down. We don't want to be that. So, but the short form videos will continue, and they'll be as robust as they were on TikTok and stuff. That's what's going on with that. If you guys want to join us, the link in the description to subscribe on YouTube. What I'm going to be trying to do, specifically, I'm having to put on the editing hat even more, is we're going to have the regular audio one that comes out, but we're also going to release a longer version of us videoly talking instead of breaking that down into topics and stuff like that. So, heading into the news, we got that Switch 2 reveal. Squeaks, you are an avid Switch player. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, a little disappointing in the fact that it's kind of we're just getting the similar thing. I know it's the Switch 2, but I did want it an actual dedicated console as well. It seems like Nintendo is probably branching out from that because maybe it's just not going to be their realm anymore. They're really obviously number one in the handheld area. So, and at least they're still having that ability to hook up to the TV, right? Get it cool. I think initial thoughts of the Switch, okay. I do like the bigger screen, and I'm comparing it a lot now because I do have the PlayStation Portal, and with that now having cloud gaming is going to be a huge could be a challenge for the Switch and Nintendo. For the fact that now we're playing PlayStation 5 quality games handheld, right? It's nothing like playing Horizon on this super beautiful screen that shows so crisp and clear. it's even my OLED Switch is still not compared to the Portal. I think the Portal visually looks better. But what I think is that now, hopefully, with the technology with the Switch 2, that we get better enhanced games in a way of like, okay, now it does look like I'm playing some Horizon quality game here. I'll get to like speculations, I'm sure after like we'll talk a little bit more. But
Yeah.
initial, I think it looks sweet, it looks smooth. I kind of like this it looks like maybe a little bit more roundish on the Joy-Cons, like
Mm-hmm.
curving wise, you know. I think I really like the black with the little colors and the joysticks themselves.
Yeah, the X.
One thing with the magnet, which was kind of like leaked, and then yeah, I did confirm that they were going to be magnets, is that I like that the buttons when you're holding the controller sideways, like the ZR, ZL, whatever, are actually kind of more sticking out now instead of the old Joy-Cons where you're like
Right.
pushing, it feels like you're pushing into something. Um, and then with that little branch sticking out, it seems like that's what's gonna help kind of keep it locked in, right? Of course you got the strong
Yeah.
magnet, but it looks like this extra piece is gonna kind of keep it held. So I do like the bigger screen and all. I think it's sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you think about like your initial take on that review trailer?
I really like how it feels like a more mature version of the Switch. It does feel like it's an
Okay.
evolution into a more slick, more almost adult design.
Yeah.
Less because that original one when it was blue on one side and like but red on the other side, it felt very like this thing is for the kids, hundred
Yeah.
percent.
But don't
You know,
forget, it did release with the black one, like an all black one.
and then that's the one I own. Yeah, I'm just saying like when
Yeah.
you think of like the iconic Switch. So
Yeah.
yeah, presumably
True.
this will do the same. That being said, um, the only concern I have is with that magnetic side. That has to be very strong for it to not bend that prong that comes out.
Yeah.
That does
Right.
seem like a faulty point. I'm very interested in how they're going to use the mouse effect because they showed it a little bit in this. Let's get some more explanations with game with it, where you take the Joy-Con off and you use it as a mouse.
Oh, I thought it was just like for a fun, like trailer thing. I didn't
No,
realize that was gonna be an actual like mechanic.
yeah. According to leaks through people who make the accessories, that's a feature. And then when it was all but confirmed in the trailer, when they saw him like kind of racing around, they actually like snapped into something, and that became like mouse mode. So I'm wondering
Oh,
how that
mm,
affects games. I mean, Nintendo, they've done a mouse before with a Super Nintendo, but I can't think of any Switch
hmm.
games that would be enhanced with a mouse. It's just odd.
Yeah, it's kind of like those gimmicky ones like WarioWare, right?
Yeah.
Right. Maybe like obviously your Mario Party, but I can't. I feel like it has to be the dedicated games, and those games probably won't last long. Well, the game maybe last long, but the feature I don't think will last very long.
Yeah. Yeah. If they could make it to where it somehow feels like keyboard and mouse, it could become the next big feature of that.
That'd be
Like
crazy. Yeah.
for example, the Zelda games I think would be far better with keyboard and mouse controls.
Mm,
And because I mean we already have so many big RPGs on the computer. If they could take that feeling in some way and bring that over to the Switch, that's next level.
yeah.
Something that the
Yeah.
others don't really push too much. Jonathan, you don't have a Switch, but you do have the Steam Deck. Is this making you interested in getting a Switch?
Well, main reason I don't have a Switch is I don't have time to play much video games, anyways.
Yeah.
And when I do play something, it's not going to be a Nintendo game.
Mhm.
It'll be whatever PC game. Though when my son gets a little older, I plan on buying him whatever's the latest Nintendo device. So probably 2 or 3 more years, I'll get him a Switch then. But yeah, right now there's just not enough time for me to play the games I already have, let alone getting new ones.
Yeah, that's a Nintendo problem, not necessarily a Switch 2 problem then for you.
Yeah.
Um, I that is true that I feel like the Switch's library is very different than what I would normally play on consistently. But
Mm.
Mm,
it's so nice having one because yeah, I mean, the new Kirby game comes out and I know I'm gonna play that thing all the way through, and that's not something I can guarantee on like a PlayStation. New game comes out, I buy it. Forspoken's a good example of this. You get Forspoken, and you're like, damn, this thing's not worth 2 hours of gameplay. And I
mm.
don't think Nintendo ever makes that misstep. I think no matter what game you pick up for Nintendo, to me, it feels like I'm going to finish it if it's a Nintendo game. Is that
Yeah.
the same experience that either of you guys experienced?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm picking up right now, and keep going back to it because I got to beat it. But Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
Okay,
And I'm actually almost done with it. But yeah, there's no one where I picked up and said, okay, I gotta. I'm over it.
yeah,
If it's like a Nintendo game, you know.
right.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of other ones, but I don't think I've had that experience.
I'm really hoping that with these better graphics, presumably 4K, we're going to be able to get some more third-party games because I think that's when they thrive, is when they can introduce Skyrims and stuff like that that
Yeah.
are already familiar with everyone else. Because then you take like, oh yeah, I love playing Elder Scrolls games, would love to do it on the go. That's where Nintendo could really thrive, and it'd be nice if they weren't so hampered by archaic graphics and stuff like they are right now.
Yeah, right. Imagine like a Mario and like a Luigi in this 4K. Like, right. I think that'd be perfect because
Yeah.
I think they already look sweet, really. But like going back to what you said, and I didn't want to get into speculations of like specs or anything because I don't want to like
Mhm.
just assume something that could be false. But I did hear something that could be a good and a bad thing that the Switch 2 may release on opening day with a Mario Kart 9. Yeah, we kind of got that.
Yeah.
But also with the Red Dead Redemption 2. And I don't know if that's like a
Ooh.
confirmed or not, but think about it this way. There's two ways, right? They're like, okay, cool. Now we're getting like really good quality games on a handheld that we could take on the go. Sweet. Or is it Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in 2018? Are we only going to get games up to that time frame coming in? Think about it. That's 7 years
Yeah.
that we're like right now that there's a lot that's changed there. So that what's kind of scares me. Like, okay, I know that's like a massive successful game. That's sweet that now we can take out and they go. Maybe that's what they're hopefully looking for, like looking to do. But it's kind of scary. Like, okay, can we not get like 2023 games, 2024
Right.
games, quality?
Well, Red Dead is, remastered recently, so maybe it'd be that remastered version first of
Maybe.
all.
Yeah.
But I think it's also one of the upper echelons of what a system can do because it is such a massive game.
Yeah.
Very good graphics as it is. Boy, I never heard that, and I tell you right now, that's a day one purchase for me. So I love that game so much. Just telling somebody about like it's the best Western story ever, and it's not on a movie or TV show.
Yeah.
So
To be able to
that would
do
be
a
a really good statement game.
to be able to do a relaunch like that for the people who made Red Dead, that's just extra money for them to make on top, not have to create a whole nother game. So they're probably excited to be able to pair it, and even at a discount to go with a new device like that.
It's also a great statement because it's like, hey, this is one of the best examples of Nintendo's not going to do just Nintendo games like they did this last cycle.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where Nintendo just released everything that, I mean, really, they were the first one to release it, but like it was right on par with the PlayStation and all that. Like you were getting the, mature games, and it feels like this last Switch really didn't have that same punching power. But I think Red Dead's a really good statement game in that way. It's like, hey, and Rockstar, by the way, the company that releases it, has GTA 6 coming out presumably this year. Who knows, really?
Yeah, right.
But I mean, what a banner year for them if that's the case. That's amazing.
Do you guys think if that mouse feature ends up working good and taking off and people like it, that Nintendo would consider like competing with PC games?
I could see them taking on the indie side of PC games. Minecraft's the only thing that first comes to me, but like Celeste and stuff like that, which already is on the Switch. I know I mentioned Skyrim earlier, and I know I played that on the Switch too. But there are like huge segments of like Hades and stuff like that that are really good PC ones and that don't play as well, in my opinion, on the consoles. And that could be a little bit of an advantage on the Switch. Is like, yes, they don't play as well on the console, but we give you a little bit more comfortability. Diablo's another good one. With the console. What do you think, Squeaks? You play both console and PC.
Yeah, I guess curiosity is like the Switch controller, how we're going to feel. Like we use a lot of macro mouses, right? And we have different devices that we use for playing games on the PC. Like everything being at the your thumb instead of like your fingers, like we're sideways though. It kind of gets like, I don't know. That's what the most interesting thing is for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that could be kind of sweet for like us on the go, right? Playing some like Diablo type that we're used to that kind of hand motion already, but we're taking it to go. I think that'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
But then Diablo goes very well with the controller also. But yeah, I mean, at least having that option is pretty unique.
Yeah, I remember when StarCraft released on the N64. Like that was such a big deal, and presumably we've heard that Microsoft wants Blizzard to make a new StarCraft game. If they launch that bad boy on Switch 2, oh my god, I'm gonna have to buy everything on PC and Switch now. That's gonna be fun. Really cool.
Yeah.
Any last things on this one? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say, if you had to, I was kind of thinking this, had to have like a special edition Switch to release, you're like, I need that one. What is it? Because right now I have the Tears of the Kingdom one, and I think it looks beautiful with the gold and like the whatever we call it, the classic Zelda gold, right? So, what would that be when you see it?
I was reflecting on like my best Christmas gift ever, and a lot of it would be like, oh yeah, it's the N64. But also I'm thinking like, actually, no, probably what it was my Game Boy Color Pokemon Edition with the yellow front, blue back. If they brought that back, the yellow front, blue back Pokemon Edition, I think I would have to buy that. It would be
nice. What would be one for you, John? Because I know you're like, so I'm not gonna play Nintendo, but if you had this dream Nintendo Switch that you saw in your eyes that you couldn't resist, what would it be?
Mean, it'd have to be themed from a Nintendo game, and I've barely played any, since like the 64. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe something new, but I couldn't tell you a Nintendo game that I'm head over heels for.
Damn. See, I was thinking for me personally, like I could picture like a Donkey Kong exclusive one where like the stand is furry a little bit,
Oh God!
Yeah.
But if not, one of my greatest like memories of playing any Nintendo game. It's not my oldest or whatever, but it's one of my favorites. It's just playing Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. Right. So if they had some type of like Luigi themed mansion one, I'd be all over it. Yeah.
Yeah. Jalen, I think this is going to be the system unit buying just because it is going to be about the time that Marco gets old enough to play one, and it'll be the Switch 2. And the nice thing about the Switch, the nice thing about any Nintendo thing is they do not lose value. I mean, like the games you bought 10 years ago on Nintendo, you sell for about the same price as you bought it nowadays. No other system can do that. Yeah. So that is a really nice, it feels good when you buy a physical copy of a Nintendo game because you're like, push to shove. If I need to make a bill, I can sell this bad boy for what I'm buying right now. That's so unique. Because I mean, I've got like Madden 21 games and that I can't give away because nobody wants to play an old Madden game. So. All right, we had a brand new Daredevil Born Again trailer that's coming out real soon. Jonathan, did you have a chance to watch that new Daredevil trailer?
I did. I actually watched it twice. It looks so good.
Yeah.
Though I don't recognize the different villains. I don't know. Heroes and villains.
Reader of those. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did obviously recognize the Kingpin from Echoes. I think that's the only place we've seen him so far, right?
Oh my God.
Okay, Jonathan, you're killing me, brother. You're killing me. He's from Daredevil.
Oh my God.
From the series.
Yeah, I know of all the shows to reference. I love that.
So I didn't watch the newer Daredevil series. I saw the first season, I think.
Man, I wish I was you to experience it all over again. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Because I saw the first season where him and Foggy are like setting up their law office or whatever and stuff like that. But I don't think I saw any of it after that.
So definitely watching that. You definitely got to watch that. That's a really good one. Yeah. I know you watch a lot of these shows while you're at work during your lunch break. Perfect show for that.
Yeah.
And Kingpin does show up in that first season, but he's probably not as prominent as he's like the third season. He's nuts. So that's what you're doing. The fact that you use Echo to reference, like, I think he's from Echo.
I watched all of that season of Echo. Which,
damn.
So to be fair, if you watch Echo, he is the thing to remember from it. Everything else was just like,
You're so right. Yeah, you're so right. What stands out to you then, as somebody who's not super familiar with Daredevil and the ethos?
Especially Kingpin and how just his voice. I mean, like I guess you guys know him very well. I barely seen him now. Now that I realize that, but how he like commands, attention being on the screen, his voice and demeanor. The various villains that we haven't really seen yet, or I haven't seen it. Right. You guys probably seen them all already, I guess.
No. You're good. Go ahead. Okay. I'll comment on that.
And I like how they always kind of touch back on his faith, how him being Catholic is a kind of a core principle to him, which, whether you believe in his religion or not, that doesn't matter. It's that he is a hero that has a little bit different history or background that he sticks to so passionately, and I like that they add that as a staple of his character.
Yeah, I did too.
That's cool.
On that villain mention that you did there, the prominent villain in this one is gonna be Muse. He was introduced in 2016. He's a very new villain. For a lot of people, he's gonna be unrecognizable. For those who stick to Daredevil comic books, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, he's one of the new guys that everybody loves. That's not everybody though. And so I think he's going to be introduced to a lot of people, myself included. It's not like I read a lot of Daredevil stuff. I'm familiar with Muse, but he's a villain to Daredevil and he's a villain to Kingpin because he's like an anti-power thing and Kingpin's becoming mayor in this season. So to see the two join up, like I put that over on Threads where I was saying this scene where the two of them are talking, to me, that whole trailer is the most tense. It's the most heart pounding. Him fighting is something I've seen 100 times. But those two sitting at a diner table, oh man, I can't wait to hear that conversation. And I think that's something that's earned over many seasons of the show.
One thing I noticed that I hadn't seen before too, and it's probably just because I haven't caught up on the show. He has a lineup of different masks, which they look a little bit different. Make me think like one's fire resistant and one's could take a fall impact, something like that. Which is like even more. I know he had gadgets before, but they were very limited as far as I remember. So to see that, it's like, oh, maybe he's getting more like Batman, where he has customizable gadgets to what kind of fight he thinks he's going to be in or whatever, which I like. Go more Batman.
Speaking of that, yeah, we're definitely seeing his cane more in this. There's something that they didn't really lean too much in the Netflix one. They definitely used it a lot in the Ben Affleck version. We're getting that a lot in this one. So for more comic booky accuracy, that's getting introduced.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like try to pick apart on this thing. One thing you talked about Muse, and I feel like Muse almost reminds me of Professor Pig, right, from Batman. If you think about it, from the Arkham series, there he's that guy.
What a deep dive!
Yeah, right. So when I saw like he's because he does this like art with the bodies, right? Well, with the Professor Pig, I'm sorry. And then it's got this like opera tone to it when you go like finding Arkham City and you hear that. That's kind of cool. But then it's like when you see Muse doing the paintings with like blood and whatever, then like, okay, that's very tailored to me as Professor Pig. Professor Pig's been around a lot longer. So I feel like that's where it's kind of pulling inspiration from. One thing I did like is I did like to see the kind of like it was very brutal. It feels like watching that trailer is a movie itself and not just a TV series. A concern though is that we saw a lot of just Matt Murdock and not Daredevil. One of my problems with the older series is that we didn't get enough of him in his outfit for me personally. And when he was finally rocking the outfit, I think it was maybe season 2. I don't remember. It's been so long. We had the copycat guy, right? That stole his outfit kind of thing. And it's like, oh my God, now we're just going back to like day one. So I'm hoping to see a lot of that. I'm super excited that oh my God, Frank Castle, Punisher is back.
Punisher,
as an actor, what is Jonathan's son?
Bernthal.
Like one of my favorite actors ever. But I'm glad to see him back. There's a lot of it's going to be jam packed, I believe, in the series because not just because of Muse, but we also did get the hint, the look of White Tiger. I believe that's what they're doing, which I was kind of confused on between the whole White Tiger, White Wolf kind of scenario. That there's 2 of them, and then I was like, okay, White Tiger. I remember being as a female in the animated series, so it kind of threw me off a little bit, like who this character was. But it does look like it's going to be the White Tiger, right? Yeah, Tiger. But did anybody catch Bullseye? Kind of looking like with his mask on, which a little Daredevil-ish looking, right?
Yeah,
with the mask, but we did see the little bullseye on top of his forehead. So,
right, I'm glad they're bringing him back, and like we're seeing with Daredevil having his toolkit. They're letting him be comic book Daredevil. We don't have to. I feel like we're not gonna have to wait as long as we do in the regular series, the Netflix version of this.
Yeah.
For anything to happen, not anything to happen. That's not fair to say, but for it to get to the comic book.
Yeah.
So I mean, like we've already earned that. We already put in our due. I want to see comic book stuff and Daredevil with that symbol, with him doing Daredevil things, and it looks like he's arrested after season 2 or 3. And then it seems like he gets broken out of the court case. Like you can see like this group coming in to get him.
Yeah.
So I don't know who issued that or whatever. I think there's gonna be a lot of players on the field in this one.
Yeah, with so much characters in this, like I mean, a season. What we're thinking, 9 episodes, 8 episodes, maybe for this.
9 episodes.
9 episodes. Okay, cool. So it's like it's pretty jam packed with the cast. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I can imagine that being long until we get to that comic book stuff.
I'm hoping it feels good because they went back and reshot a lot of it after Kevin Feige saw it and it's like, no. We're gonna make this better.
Nice.
So they were doing it's the old system, right? We talked about this in the past, but they were doing kind of like they did with like all the other shows, Echo included, where it's like, let's make a movie but stretch it out. He goes in there and is like, no, we're gonna use show Bible, Bob Iger effect. We're gonna use show Bibles. We're gonna use showrunners. That's the Agatha change. Agatha was the first one to do that. This is gonna be the first one, or one of the first ones to do it. And so they reshot a lot of it. They weren't gonna have Foggy in there at all, or why do I say it's not Kelly? I can't remember her name, but
Karen?
Yeah, I can't think of it.
Karen. Thank you, Karen. Yeah. Karen. The one who doesn't watch the show. But he's like, no. We have to have those 2. Let's make it like the Netflix was. People are expecting. Yeah, it should be good, but I hope it feels good and not like, oh, they must have reshot this part, but sometimes you can get that vibe. So Jonathan, you're gonna watch the first stuff, and then you're gonna come back to us with a preview of what to expect when the Daredevil's coming out, right? So you got until like March. You ready for that?
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, as soon as I finish the show, I've been binging For All Mankind, and I can't stop. I'm in the middle of season 3 right now. So as soon as I'm done with that, then I'll get back into Daredevil.
It's just so beautiful. Oh yeah, I got add Severance to the notes, guys. I forgot to add Severance to the notes. That reminds me. Yeah. Shoot. Farron Tahir will be reprising his role from Iron Man in the upcoming Vision series. He's the one that like threw Iron Man in the cave. He's that like that character. the Vision series. What do we want to see out of that? Squeaks, let's start with you. What do you think?
Damn, I don't know. You threw me off with that reprisal. Shit, I don't know. I mean, I guess for Vision, the White Vision to kind of like get his grounding right. That's what it's going to be, all right, essentially, because he's a nothing really right now, right? He's trying to figure out his life. So I guess finding that, but I'm kind of confused with the Baron coming back for the role. Yeah, that threw me off, to be honest. I don't know what to look forward to now in this one.
Yeah,
did they say anything of what the conflict may be or anything?
No, but he was part of the Mandarin's crew, I believe.
Yeah,
and so maybe it's like a terrorist group's trying to get this like super weapon, kind of like how the U.S. government was trying to do it in WandaVision. So maybe all of a sudden he's like trying to figure out his life, but all of a sudden, okay, there's an outside threat now, and I have to actually get my shit together. Because Ultron's going to be in this too. Like they already confirmed that.
So do you think Farron maybe uses Ultron to get Vision?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
A little bit more interesting.
Oh God, that's scary because Ultron is a real villain. He's an actual threat. So. By the way, I love how like one of my New Year's resolutions for the podcast was to not do the direction thing that I edit out for the most part, but I'm doing it a lot in this episode. Can't get rid of old habits. Rory McCann, the Hound from Game of Thrones, is going to be playing Balin's Skull. He's for Ahsoka season 2. He's replacing Ray Stevens, who passed away unfortunately in 2023. So I'm glad they're not ditching Balin and just writing him off, because I think his story, and that kind of like Jedi that's not a good guy anymore, was good, not a bad guy, but just not good anymore. I thought was a good, and of course the Hound is always awesome. So.
Yeah, and I looked at pictures of him too. When you look at comparing these, it was like, if he just maybe they put a little more gray in his beard or whatever, or time could have done that already. I think he looked very similar to the same character too. Yeah, so, and his acting, he's great.
I read that so wrong. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I read it as like the Hound is going to be in Ahsoka season 2. So I'm like, okay, there's a stormtrooper called the Hound who was going after Ahsoka, right, for some like false murder or whatever. So I was like, that might be kind of cool for the second thing. Now you're saying it the outline. I was like, oh my God, I read the whole thing so bad, but I like how it linked though. It kind of linked, right? So
yeah, that's
cool.
Man. The way the Hound works with Arya, we're gonna kind of get, I think, with Ahsoka too, because he has also that like Padawan that he's teaching, so I might also get a little bit of that vibe as well. And then the last of the quickies is Cillian Murphy is not in 28 Years Later. Everybody was like, is that him?
Wink.
Blah, 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 blah. So he's not in 28 Years Later, but 28 Years Later is a trilogy, and it sounds like he'll be in the second 2 movies. So it'll probably lead up to him being revealed at the very end of the first movie or whatnot. And then 28 Years Later, the trilogy, which I freaking love this. The second part of the trilogy comes out 6 months after the first one. So we're just going to boom, 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 like the old Matrix, the way they did that. Boom, 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 right after each other. That'd be nice.
I think that's got to be really good for their business, for their ticket sales, right? You would think you release a movie and then you wait 3 or 4 years to release a sequel. It's gone stale. Maybe you milked every penny you could out of it, but it's old news. But if you release it, people like it. It's got time in the theaters for everyone to go watch it. And then a month or 2 goes by after, the buzz is worn down and you got the next one right there. Yeah. That just seems like a no-brainer. Like that's how you release a series of sequels to really get the most attention to them.
Yeah. 6 months is just about right too, to where it's like you could put it out on like Max or whatever, the first one, a month or a couple weeks beforehand to kind of like revigorate the trending stuff for the second one. Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, I feel like the moviegoers and the fans, that's freaking awesome, right? We don't have to wait so long. But do you think like the hype is just going to be like there, like it's here and then it's gone? Like nobody's going to be talking about it like years later or something, Kind of feel like, how does that drawn out? Very long. Maybe? Yeah. So it could be kind of like just a quick wave and then.
I think the worst example, like what Jonathan was saying, as much as, I saw that first movie many, many times in theaters, was Avatar. I watched that first one so many times in theaters, but it was so long until the next Avatar came out. I didn't have the hype as much as I did for the first movie because it was like 10, 11 years or something like that for the next one.
Yeah.
Luckily now we have multiple, hopefully he keeps the standards up, but we have the new Avatar like coming out in this year.
Yeah.
So, and there are some things that I'm like, okay, Fire Na'vi, they're bad guys. That's all interesting. So we do have something.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move into our reviews. We're going to kick things off with Skeleton Crew. Jonathan, you're going to lead the front on this one. Tell us about Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, so I watched Skeleton Crew. which there's a lot of good shows out there that I don't finish or haven't seen yet. But this was actually a killer show. Should I try to avoid spoilers? Do you think everybody's seen it already?
Avoid spoilers, yeah. I think avoided the ending for sure.
Okay. So the general plot is it's kind of like Goonies or Stranger Thing, where it's a group of kids on this planet, protected, very paradise-like planet kind of. And they go to school and stuff like that. They have hover bikes, futuristic bikes and stuff. But it very much has the like 70s, 80s vibes, but obviously future technology. They kind of get in this snafu where they end up on a ship that they launch outside of their planet's barrier, and then they have this journey to try to get back home. They get the help from a stranger, the guy they don't really know, and they learn to trust and whatnot. But between it, there's all kinds of hangups and issues and challenges they face. But overall, it was a really fun story. It didn't get like some shows kind of get slow in the middle, but it kind of kept good pacing, I think, throughout. We really get to know these kids, and they become really fun characters. Like they do a lot of character development, makes you really root for these little kids. Especially like you say, every time we talk about it, Neil is your favorite, which he's cool. And they have a robot, everything Star Wars has to have a robot too. Mm-hmm. SM-33 is theirs, and he's probably my favorite character out of them all there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a fun adventure with these kind of kids that are lost and finding their way home.
Neil has been my favorite, and it's now KB. By the end, I was a bigger KB fan. That episode where she loses power and is dying, and Wim saves her. Doesn't even know that he's saving her, but she's barely alive. She's like, "You have to make a battery." Yeah. Oh my god, that was so well shot. Bryce Dallas Howard is the director of that episode. Fantastic job.
Yeah, he's forging a battery in the sand on the surface of this planet, and somehow it works enough to bring her back to life. And it's like, what the heck? That's crazy.
Yeah, and he doesn't know. I love how when she comes back, she's like, "Oh, thank God. Hey, you saved my life. Good job." He's like, "What?" Right? Yeah. I really enjoyed this in the fact that it was so easy. I think looking at Acolyte, unfortunately, Acolyte will always be the example of bad Star Wars. I'm sure the new trilogy is happy about that. There's this thing where they try to make it complicated. Oh, we're going to change the galaxy. Oh, we're going to do this. Nah, just, man, give me some adventures in space. And that's what this was. The kids, if they failed, At-Aten would be destroyed, but nothing else. Actually, At-Aten wouldn't be destroyed. They'd be just lost. Pirates in space. We've always wanted pirates in space. We got that. It kept subverting my cynical expectations. I always think Jod is going to end up being using magnets to control stuff. He's not actually a Jedi. No, he actually has the Force. He was trained by a Jedi. It's just the Jedi died when he was young, and they were all doing it as outlaws after Order 66. Stuff like that. Every time you thought they're going to do KB's going to pull up on the ship and it's going to be fine. No, KB's ship got crashed. It's actually, so it was like that. I liked that kind of refreshing, just simple story that you'd get out of the 80s stuff. Yeah. That felt very good. And it felt like everything was super impactful without being galaxy changing, which I think everything we watch nowadays is they're redefining the Force. I don't give a don't do that. Just show me kids with the phasers and running around and having fun and dealing with pirates. It was a blast. I liked it.
What I was expecting and didn't get is kind of a deeper story like we see in Stranger Things, but you have to remember Stranger Things is more for a mature audience than this is. This is more for kids, and you got to kind of keep it simple and, kind of fun and kind of scary, but not too crazy. And we talked about a little bit before how Andor is more of that kind of vibe where it's a deeper story, a mystery, and you got to figure out what's going on. This isn't supposed to be that. It's just, an adventure and has a beginning, middle, end. And it's supposed to be fun for everybody, not scary or anything like that. So I thought it was good though.
When you introduce your kid to Star Wars, Jonathan, is this one of the first ones you'd show them?
No. So it would take a long time for him to be entertained by live action entertainment. So there's already this Star Wars, I don't remember what it's called. The little kid animated show.
What is it called? Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just little tiny Jedis and
little blue furry guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that is already, maybe in the next year or so, he'll probably click with that pretty well. And then we would probably go from that in a couple more years.
Young Jedi Adventures.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then Clone Wars or that, the animated series would probably be the next step. And, a couple years after that, maybe he'd be ready for something like this. But
you think he would appreciate the Clone Wars this early?
I was wondering that too.
Not yet.
The stories, those stories are deep. They hit me sometimes.
And he probably would understand the depth of the stories. It would just be, something
animated Star Wars. Yeah.
That's the thing, is the story for Skeleton Crew, I think, is easier to accept than it is for his age, than it would be but just the animated aspect of it will keep his attention then. Okay.
Yeah.
Rebels too. Rebels is so good. Squeaks, did you have a chance to watch? Well, no, you're not done with it though. You've got
not done with it. Yeah, I got into it and everything. Like you said, I do love the whole pirate theme and whatnot. It's kind of like, oh man, like let's expand, like what you're saying, this world, the Star Wars, but not just have to be like so changing history or whatever the heck. When I saw the little kids like living in this, era, it's like, man, this is what I want. There's like more to life. Like it's like us, right? Things are going on all over the world, but we still wake up and take a piss and go to work and play video games. Like that's still a thing, right? So it's cool to see this. My dream would be like to see more of like the pirates and like a Hondo theme. I'm thinking like a James Gunn collaboration, Guardians, but Star Wars pirates is what I would love to see.
Yes.
But yeah, like everything has to be so defining and meaningful to the Star Wars universe. So hopefully this is kind of like a trend that'll continue.
It feels like the people who behind Star Wars nowadays, they think that, right? Like, oh, we have to make it so big, so impactful, galaxy wise, so that the audience feels the tension of this moment. And it's like, man, these kids in the final episode, there's a part where the kids are like racing on bikes to escape, and one of the dad's with them, and they make this like little jump over. And I remember vocally saying out loud, I'm alone in the room with the dogs, like, wow, that was cool. And I was like, that shows you right there. If I if I instinctively just said like, wow, that was cool, and they made this little jump. And like, it was, hopefully they make it. Like Neil got hit off the bike, and I was like, like, I didn't say it out loud, but like, that was tension. I didn't need the Death Star to blow up Andor.
That was a KB moment too. She's using her visor and she's calculating based on their weight and their speed. She's like, if you floor it, we can make it. And so they're all racing like, okay, we got to go full speed. And the dad's like, oh no, we can't do this. And the kid's like, no, you just got to trust KB, and they max speed and they can make the jump. It's like, damn, that's just good writing right there.
It is good writing. Yeah. But it's simple too. Like, that doesn't, but if you want to overanalyze it, you're like, oh wow, yeah, KB, who wasn't a leader beforehand, now they're trusting her. It's just all kinds of cool stuff. That KB character really grew on me a lot. Neil was always just kind of like that fun kid, that the chunk, if we're talking back to but yeah, KB was like the one that kind of grew on me. I was like, oh, then I root for her now.
I'm still gonna throw it out there. Dream show is a Talladega Nights with pod racing. Okay, I want that humor. I want just in the Star Wars world of pod racing. Like, bring back pod racing. That was so badass. You made video games and everything for it. Like, come on, bring it back. God, hire me already.
Pod racing nights or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
God, that would be interesting.
But I would love to see, just like, if I'll do it. I mean, give Will Ferrell back in there, as Ricky Bobby.
Could you
just like insert a dimension or so, and then next thing you know, he's racing these pods. That'd be hilarious.
John C. Reilly doesn't get enough credit for that movie too, because John C. Reilly, his second in command in that movie, when he like takes over for Ricky Bobby, and like he's actually the star, he doesn't really know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
I'll take him. Maybe they take him in this dimension, and now he is the star. So now how does he handle it?
Yeah. Maybe they have like rival garages in the middle of Tatooine.
Exactly. Yeah. This show would be, oh my God, so amazing.
We should start making a list of Star Wars spin-off shows they could do to stay in the world.
You guys make the list. I will email that to Disney. We'll give
they'll probably steal it, not give us anything. They'll just give us a gift package.
I'll take a gift package from Disney.
Right. I'll take it, but
ideas,
as they're ranking the millions, I'll just get this cool T-shirt and mug.
Yeah. As I'm already hawking, they're like, "Hey, this is the man." So Skeleton Crew. I'm not entirely sure where to rank this. I really enjoyed myself, so I want to give it like a 9. But I wonder if like technically, like visually it was beautiful. I liked the music because it was like this mix of Star Wars and pirate music they had at points. I think I gotta give it a 9, but I feel like it probably isn't as complicated as other things I give a 9 to. What do you think, Jonathan? After seeing the whole thing, where are you at with their score?
Yeah, well, I don't think its lack of complication and depth is a negative to it. I think it was intentional to keep it simple and fun, and they were able to keep it simple without it seeming, too childish or irrelevant or not entertaining enough. So I think together that actually is, it easily earns that 9. Even like maybe a 9.5, because I can't think of much or anything really off the top of my head to to knock it for.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, do you know if they're going to be more seasons of this? Are they continuing it, or is this?
They haven't said that they're going to make a sequel necessarily, but I could see them. I was actually discussing this on Challenge Accepted. I would like for them to go like Skeleton Crew, Jod's Adventures. Like, let's see what happens to Jod after this, or because we don't necessarily need to stick with the same group, but maybe we do get more adventures that are in this kind of grounded at it and adventures or whatever.
Yeah,
we need to kind of expand on that.
And then because eventually, these kids, even if you just want to do a time lapse 10 years later, these kids can now be their own crew, and they go off to maybe, I don't know, find people to maintain the planet, help protect them, or they go protect other planets that need help or something like that. But I could definitely see it extending further on, more story. Yeah.
Talking about how it subverted all my expectations, like the things I kept like cynically thinking was going to happen. Nobody else had the Force. Just Jod. I thought for sure Wynn was going to figure out he has the Force at the end. That was going to be a clutch. No, he picked up the lightsaber, but he didn't have the Force all of a sudden. And so maybe for a sequel, maybe one of the kids does realize they have the Force. And that could be like, oh, we have to go find Luke Skywalker, So.
Yeah, damn.
Maybe they find a kid.
Well, he's the Jedi. He's the only Jedi that's well known
I don't know. I wasn't expecting that.
They could find a kid outside of their group that has the Force, and that would be like finding 11 in Stranger Things, where it's an outsider that's struggling, and you try to bring them in and everything. And then one of them falls in love.
So 11 enters this like dimension thing, right? Okay, hear me out.
Teleports to a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
Would 11 become Sith or Jedi?
Oh.
Uncontrollable. I would say Sith.
Right? Man, that's tough, right? I mean.
And then I think Jonathan just.
Okay. So maybe she'll become Sith because everything is so chaotic in the Stranger Things world, right? So then she enters this dimension and she's like, oh, sweet, like order and structure. And that's why she becomes a Sith. Not this free range shit anymore. She's over it. She's tired of it. She's seen it before.
And I think she's willing to kill others to protect her friends. So I think that's something that Jedi wouldn't do.
The rule of the Sith, she reacts almost exclusively on emotion, where a Jedi is supposed to follow logic and law and rules, and she doesn't know anything about that.
You heard it here first, guys. 11 is a bad guy. She's a Sith. All right. Let's go into Marvel Rivals Season 1. So we've had a week with Season 1 now, learning the changes, learning the new maps and the new characters. Squeaks, we're going to go to you on this one. What are your thoughts on Season 1?
I think it's like almost blockbuster. So it came out with a lot, and I think the measurement was from Season 0, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't expecting this much. I do like a little things of like the menu where we do have this new way of viewing the missions, like this comic book thing where you're seeing those portraits, right? That's a little different, but I like it. The theming is a little confusing. No, I don't want to say confusing me, but I don't know if it was ready, right? This seems like very Halloweenish, and I feel like this could have waited for Halloween.
Right.
So it threw me off with the Dracula thing. So, and then it also makes me concerned of if every season is going to be so, like I said, again, blockbuster like this, a huge theming, is it going to die out eventually? What are we going to run into? I mean, I'm sure you could have so many ideas for so long, but it's not like, all right, we have to compare to Overwatch because we do. The game is the same. That Overwatch only had like themings to holiday events or whatever, right?
Right.
So this seems like every season's going to be a theme, which is it's just be great, right? I think it's going to be awesome. I mean, but hopefully it doesn't run out. I was a little because I don't read into so many things as much as others do. I didn't know that there was going to be a pretty decent gap between like the Thing and the Human Torch coming out after
6 weeks.
Mr. Fantastic Invisible. So that kind of threw me off not to see them, because I mean, obviously they're right on the menu, right? We know they're here. Come on, bring them on, But I do like a lot of things about it. There's the map, which I like, where you're pushing. What's that little robot's name? Herbie? No,
Herbie.
I want to say Kirby. Herbie. I want to say Kirby. It's the Nintendo hat,
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed that. I do like how we changed some of I do like character restructures with Captain America and Rocket. I think Invisible Woman, I'm kind of like my main strategy now. I love her. I love how each character does feel like, yeah, hey, I'm a strategist, I'm a DPS, whatever, but they're very still unique.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like the same tactics or whatever. I don't feel like I'm playing. Every healer is not like a Mantis, so I do like that. Yeah, I mean, the battle pass itself though was like, oh shit. So I got through the battle
Yeah.
pass 0 fairly quickly. So when I saw this one, I was like, oh shit, this is back to normal battle passes where I never finish, right? So,
Yeah, it's a beast,
um,
dude. I've been playing
yeah,
pretty regularly, and like
yeah.
I just finished the first page yesterday. I went, oh my god, there's so much more. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're giving you amazing skins. So again, like they don't falter on their image of how they're creating the characters and the skins. The one lackluster one I'll say is the Penny Parker one. It's just like really a color
yeah,
change. But man, like I don't know, I call him the Van Helsing Wolverine, really.
yep.
The Magneto, I mean, shoot, like the Loki, like the Rocket, like these are like basically they've been Halloween outfits, really.
Right.
Invisible Woman, that's a side purchase I made.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think the theming of this is great. Is there I've seen one map. I've seen the one map, right? Is there more than that? Because I just my luck has not been hitting then if there is. And I
No, it
haven't
is
really
just that
like
one map.
checked.
Yeah, because yeah.
Okay. So maybe that could be like, hey, he could have rethemed one more. You know, I get
Mhm.
maybe you're saving it for the other ones, or maybe the second drop of the Fantastic Four characters.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but with that map was the only time where it really feels like this theming you're bringing to us is there. So this whole Dracula thing is not being seen. It would be cool to see, maybe see like a little hints of Dracula throughout each map, maybe because that's kind of like what you're trying to
Oh,
tell.
yeah. You know what? There is a second map, but it's a different play mode where everybody's together and you're like going into the Sanctum Sanctorum more.
Okay.
That's a different play mode where it's basically free for all,
Oh,
shooting it up.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was talking about. I know what
I
I
was like, I
haven't
remember seeing another
experienced
map
that.
where you're in the Sanctum. That's what it is. And
Yeah, I
there's the
haven't
infinite
experienced
stairway
that
and stuff.
one. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I think they came out with a bang, right? I mean, that's how
yeah.
I feel. There's nothing lacking here
For the theming, I
besides
liked the
maps.
idea of it feeling like a comic book because I think they're leaning more on the comic book Marvel than they are on the MCU.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, so many times in comic books, we're like, oh yeah, for these 4 issues, they're fighting whomever. And so like they're clearly fighting Dracula. We know from leaks that Dracula has bound Blade. So that's why Blade's not helping right now, but he'll be there soon.
Yeah.
And then they said that every 6 weeks they're going to release new characters and more content. So I think if there is another map, it'll come out in 6 weeks, and that's when we're going to get the Thing and Human
Okay.
Torch. I love the fact that you got for that Invisibles. There's so many. Speaking of TikTok, people doing like the Bob's Burgers pervert thing.
Yeah, yeah.
When people are buying the
Yeah,
Invisible
yeah.
Woman skin, they're like pervert.
Yeah. So, okay. My defense. Yeah, yeah, I
I'd
check
love
out
to
her
hear
ass
it. Yeah.
24/7. But I was a huge fan of just the Invisible Woman outfits themselves, and it's fantastic. That white with the
Of
four going
course.
across the chest. Oh my god, that is beautiful. That's
It
like the
is.
best outfit I've ever seen in my life. But I started playing with her, and I was like, man, I'm actually fairly good with her. And then I'm like, the skin is dope. I don't want it to go away for a little bit. And then I don't get it. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna main her, same thing I did Wolverine. Like, okay, I'll try him out. Oh my god, I did really well with him. I'll buy the skin. Same thing I did with her. Like, if I wasn't good with her, I wouldn't have bought it just because, damn, she's fine. So
Yeah, the cheeks hanging out didn't make that purchase a little bit easier.
nah, it did. I mean, it was easier to click the I accept to add my funds to the Steam account. But yeah, you know.
uh, I can't stand those Mr. Fantastics. Like, you don't need a third tank. He feels like
Uh-huh.
a tank a lot of times. And
Right. Yeah.
as somebody who's climbing the boards through Scarlet, the fact that he could absorb my ability, which is like I can
Yeah.
understand absorbing bullets. That's something that's in comic books. When the
Yeah.
hell could you absorb magic chaos energy coming off of you? And he could absorb it and then shoot it back at me. Like,
I don't
bro,
want to
get
hear a
out of here.
Scarlet main complaining, being that your fucking reach is by so crazy distance. I got killed by a Scarlet. I'm like, I'm like fucking football fields away from you, bro. Like, how is that reaching? So, yeah. Oh my god! Finally, you guys can't do one thing. Okay.
I'm getting good at Hella now too, so it's like, oh boy, the two
Yeah.
pain in the ass characters. I'll
Yeah.
make sure to
Yeah.
master those ones. Yeah, I'm having a blast with it though. I do like the theming. It does feel like so distinct from season 0, and I
Yeah.
hope that we
Yeah.
kind of get that super distinct thing. You're right; it should have been Halloween, of course. But like, I
It
hope
feels
like
like
the
it.
next
Yeah.
one's ice theme or something like that. Like we're fighting somebody that some Yeti monster. I don't know. It's somebody in
Yeah.
Marvel. It's a
Yeah.
Yeti, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I think that how
Um,
specific the theming is a good sign that it's going to be changed. Like you're saying, every 6 weeks
Yeah.
there's going to be new characters. So not like Overwatch where it kind of looks the same for like a whole year and then they come out with something, but
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
change more frequently, hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just afraid of the ideas, but I mean, there's so many. I'm sure it'll last forever. I think that was just my concern. Like, okay, so are you? If you're doing this theme, then it'd be weird to redo this theme back in October. So I guess we're just not going to care like
Just do a
Halloween
different
time, maybe
Halloween
just do
theme.
Well,
something
Halloween
else.
you could do different. I mean, how many times they
All
fought
kinds of
things that
stuff.
are like Midnight Suns? Boom, there you go. There's your Halloween one. Like,
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things that they
Yeah,
could be
I
fighting.
guess so.
Zombies,
Yeah.
the Marvel Zombies universe seems like an easy
True,
one
that'd
to
be
return
cool.
to.
Yeah, because we did have that multiverse of madness, Doctor Strange skin. So,
Yeah.
which did that come out yet? No, it didn't, huh?
No, not yet.
Yeah, they advertised it a lot, so that wasn't
Yeah,
leak stuff.
I'm trying to get
Yeah.
good at him too because like you have to have at least one Vanguard you're good at, and Penny Parker it's okay, but you can't really play offensive with her. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to get good at Doctor Strange, and I had the season
Yeah.
0 skin of his, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Working on
I
that.
have that one. That's a character I will say, okay, like I tried. I'm not gonna buy any skins for. I'm horrible with Doctor Strange, okay? Not like my Invisible Woman, okay?
If Doctor Strange's cheeks were out though,
That'd be tempting. Let me enter that. Let me enter that sanctum. You know.
We're playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, so if you guys want to hop in Discord or whatever, let us know you want to play. We're usually able to team up and stuff like that. Don't mess up my competitive games, but I am
Yeah.
down. As if I'm like good. I'm trying my hard to get into silver right now. Jonathan, have you played much since you've gotten the new computer? I know you've been super swamped these last couple weeks.
Yeah, I've played some. I'm still so terrible. I just trying to keep my head above water, but yeah, definitely not good with any characters yet. But yeah, I actually played another round this morning because I got up before you guys to review the notes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's hard to. I got to play enough to where I actually get. Even with Overwatch, like I was just dying almost all the time. I just played enough to where I got better at dying less. So I got to spend more time in it, get better with a couple guys.
A good place for you to start probably is to pick a healer because they have to stand behind the line and like really you just have to worry about people who are made to dive it, Hulk and whatnot. But then you can kind of get a vibe for that, a feel for that, and then you're always wanted. And there are a lot of times when healers can carry a team kill wise. My God, I hate when it happens, but it's so possible. So might be something to try out. Luna Snow, Jeff, ones like that. Mantis.
Yeah.
That looks good. Severance. We had that first episode of Severance out. Just going off of my immediate reactions here. Feels good to be back in this world. So many questions. You can't trust anybody. Revisiting the first season again, it was like kind of slowly unfolded, and more and more people were like awoken to the idea that you can't trust Lumen. And in this one, immediately you're starting with that vibe. I like how the beginning of it they threw Mark in. This was this like new crew that were still brainwashed, and he's like, I want one of my old crews, and he's right away getting into the antic, trying to frame one guy, trying to do this, whatever. And then the fact that we end with them all together, we're like, oh, they're gonna let them all be together, and how's that gonna play? I wonder how this season's gonna play compared to the first season. I know that Ben Stiller already has all 3 seasons written, and so I like that there is an endpoint that he has already planned out, and he doesn't tell the actors what's going on, so the actors don't get spoiled on it. They're also surprised as well. So it is fun, but again, I'm wondering how the vibes will change this season when we're not unlocking things, and instead this season we're all about trying to save Miss Casey. It'll be cool. I'm assuming Lumen's gonna keep Lumen's doing this whole we're a reformed thing because it's been 5 months since the first season. Oh, we're a reformed thing is like bullshit. We know those cameras might not be seen, but they're there. It'll be neat. John, you have a chance to watch this?
Yeah, it was good. I like how the end of the last season is pretty much everything's unraveling and we're off the rails. This episode pulled us back onto the rails and was like, okay, we're kind of in the same mission that we were before, but we know a lot more now.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna find at some point that Lumen is controlling people or manipulating people in the outies as well. In the waking world. I don't know, even the employees that we think are, part of corporate or part of the board and they're helping make the decisions. I think they're also just a deeper at another level of manipulation and don't know what's going on. And there's more departments that we don't know about and stuff like that. So I love to see, the layers unfold little by little like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is something there where like we know a couple of people who don't go through the severance process that work there. So it'd be nice to see them outside of the world. We had the boss from the last one, which hopefully she shows up again soon. I think she will.
Cobell,
yeah. It's Cobell. Yeah. And then when are we going to see Miss Casey again and stuff? Yeah, you're right. It'll be interesting. We kind of the Fallout vibes is we found out that there are Lumen throughout the world. There are multiple places they mentioned that. And so I'm like, oh yeah, so this is a whole global thing.
Yeah.
That
this
might just
building is 501 or something like that, right? It's a big number. So yeah, there's got to be a lot of different offices.
Squeaks, did you have a chance to catch Severance yet?
Nope, never even watched one episode yet.
Oh,
missing
boy.
out.
I know, I need to. I hear that we tried watching it, me and the wife together, and it was like, okay, we realized this is just another show that, we could watch just like while playing with the kids and stuff. So we do need to jump back on it. And with the season coming out, and I seen like the promos that they've done, like in the subway, right, where they're
Oh, that's
actually
so
like
cool.
making
That
their
is
own
cool.
scene live. I was like, okay, maybe this is a show that take serious and watch. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we won't. Yeah, make sure you watch it. So you're gonna be watching Severance. Sean's gonna be watching Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's got their homework
Don't
now.
don't ever reference Echo again.
But yeah, it's off to a good start already. We're talking about possibly covering it over on Chandra, except if you guys want an episode by episode breakdown, we'll revisit, of course, after the first season is complete. But it's just another one of those Apple shows that immediately feels more high budget than other shows. Something about Apple.
Yeah, man.
They generally
great.
don't advertise their shows. This one they've done a hell of a good marketing campaign. Again, that whole
Yeah.
Grand Central
Yeah.
Station thing. But yeah, as soon as you start watching, you're like, man, this is good quality. This is high cameras. They're definitely not shooting this on iPhone. You think they would have? But yeah, it looks good. What's your score for that first episode, John? Let's go with that.
Score. I'd probably say 8.5.
Yeah, I'd go about 8. Because it's just propping up a bunch of questions, so we don't have any answers yet. But in setting us up for excitement for the season, I think it's better, right? About an 8.
Yeah. Because it did kind of bring us back from where we were, because we were all over the place, and it explained how we're getting back on the rails, not just like people wake up in their office again and pretend things are normal. So I appreciate that.
The Irving part hit me harder than I expected, where he's kind of like, because for them, when they quit, they're killing themselves, essentially, that version of themselves.
Version of them.
And so Irving like wanted to just leave.
It's almost like going in permanent hibernation, right? It'll still be there if the person ever comes back to Lumen, but they don't intend to ever come back. Right.
So when Irving's like trying to go out the door and he's being stopped, it does feel very much like a preventing scene, from killing yourself. The way that played out was like, man, this is what the stakes feels like, is that. And the way they played it, like it's a scene about suicide, but it's a scene about somebody leaving work. It was interesting. It was like, I feel the drama from this, but I'm visually seeing this. It was a good way of being shot.
Yeah.
8's good for me too. I'm gonna go with 8 on that one as well. Nice. Let us know if you guys are watching Severance, and again, we're going to cover more on Challenge Accepted. And once again, Squeaks lost his hat. And there's Marco.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to do it over the headphones.
Oh man, what's up, Marco? All right, let's finish things off with what's going on the network. So over on Challenge Accepted, we're going over John Williams month. So we've been talking about different John Williams movies. The next one is going to be Catch Me If You Can. And talking about his score. We just did Prisoner of Azkaban and how he changes the theme song for Harry Potter in every movie a little bit more based off the movie and stuff. It was really cool digging into that. Geek Freaks interviews is starting soon. I actually have the first interview is today. So we'll have interviews coming out very soon, sometime in February, but they're already being recorded right now. And then we have a new Lore Master coming out this week. So make sure you guys tune into Lore Master. And then Fandom Portals just came out with their Venom 3 discussion. And, I really liked how they were bringing up, like, what's a more accurate version of Venom, this one or the Spider-Man 3 Venom? And after hearing them talk about it, I'm like, yeah, I think actually Spider-Man 3's Venom was probably more accurate to Venom because he wasn't joking around the whole time. I thought that was pretty good. So,
yeah.
Fandom Portals, guys, check that out. Let's end with our recommendation of the week. What do you got, Squeaks?
Yeah, so I got a little game that doesn't actually get advertised very much because they don't ever really advertise their offering games, but Song of Nunu, which is a League of Legends story. And this kind of helps where like these Arcane fans that are coming like, hey, I want to get into League of Legends. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. That's not your game, right? So let me break it down to you. There's 5 games that kind of like branch off of that League of Legends and create stories for. Song of Nunu is based off of characters of obviously Nunu and Willem, but there's also got bringing in additional characters. One of my favorites that actually came from other games like Ruin King is Braum. He's in the game, and Lyssandra's in the game as well. And it's kind of a cool because it's like this whole it's not like a father-son thing because it's Nunu and Willem, like a Yeti and a child, but it's this great like a connection video game, like relationship building, right? You're just kind of like exploring and going through different environments and kind of tackling these environmental puzzles with each other. So you feel like this like brother connection, right? Whatever. But then you start like, oh, hey, there's actually something going on here. The whole world is basically about ice, as Willem is a Yeti, essentially. It's like all these ice environments, but then they run into something called black ice, and then Lysandra plays a piece there. The game with gameplay again already. It's a lot of climbing, a lot of environmental puzzles, and then we kind of get into a little bit of the fighting, which is pretty fun. Basically, it's more like Yeti fighting, where you're kind of just bashing, doing combos together, throwing snowballs sometimes at certain points. But I don't think it's a very long game. I think it's about 5-6 hours. You can finish it, 8 top, really, if you're really wanting to explore. But what I like is I'm a big fan of the League of Legends, and I do love like the expansions of these worlds. So you could go and check that out if you want something that's tailored off of Arcane, but League is not your style. So Song of Nunu is what, is it.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I didn't even know that released. Good.
Yeah. It's cool.
Nunu was my very first main.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, before I discovered Garen, and now I have Garen action figures. I'll do next. I'm gonna go with Gastronauts. So Dropout has a series that they just finished the first season called Gastronauts. It is a very fun cooking series where they take 3 comedians and they have a 3 chefs. The chefs are all competing in a kitchen, and the comedians will have to say, "All right, this one the meal you guys have to make have to be dropped off of a 6-foot ladder, and whatever actually lands on the plate is what we're going to be judging you based off of." Stuff like that.
That's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, I want the meal to look as gross as possible, but taste delicious. So it's like people have to make things that look like vomit, but taste like steak or whatever. Like it'll have, so it's all kinds of crazy things where it's like the comedians will find something funny to do, but then the chefs will have to make very good meals, and it's just a really good play off each other. Gastronauts, guys, it's a Dropout series. It was a lot of fun, and it was Jordan Morris's first series with the Dropout team. They're from Good Mythical Morning. Nailed it. It was a lot. All right, Jonathan, what are you and Marco suggesting?
So like we were talking about Apple TV, if you guys haven't watched Severance, it's really good. The full first season's already out, so there's only 1 episode of season 2 out so far. But
that's all right.
But I've also been watching Silo. Season 1 was phenomenal. Season 2 is a little bit slower, but still good, worth watching. And For All Mankind, I'm on season 3 now of that, and that is such an awesome story. And then I did just see a movie recently, which not a typical movie I probably would have seen, but my wife wanted to watch it, was 6888, and that was actually a really good movie. So, hey, a little bit quick. So yeah, 6888, if you guys haven't checked that out, it's about African-American women serving in World War II. But really good movie. So.
Is that one also on Apple?
I think it was on Netflix, I think.
Netflix. Okay. I'll check that out. Yeah. Apple's got a good library. There's a lot of people right now discovering Apple, because of Severance. So again, I can't say enough about For All Mankind, and Ted Lasso's on there. Everybody, that was a good one to watch.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is it for us this week. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
It's a